Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 917, 917, Saturday, October the 5th, 2019. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, we've got some fun news to get to today, so let's go ahead and get right to it. First of all, before I get to news items, I just want to ask a simple question here and answer it for you. So, why do we know that the deep state coup plotters specifically, are screwed? Why are they screwed? It's real simple. There's really two things that guarantee they are screwed. And here they are. And this is why they're coming unglued. This entire fiasco of the counterintelligence operation, which they claim was a counterintelligence operation to find out if the Russians were trying to penetrate the elections. When you're conducting a counterintelligence operation and you think a foreign government is trying to target somebody or something or someone, what have you, what do? This is standard protocol for how you handle a counterintelligence operation. If you know that you've identified the target that the foreign adversary has targeted, you go to that target and you say, hey, don't you know that so-and-so government has targeted you, or we have reason to believe that so-and-so government is targeting you. So we just want to make you aware of this so you can be on the lookout, and in fact, we think there's some suspicious characters around you that may even be involved. You might want to look out for person A, person B, person C, person D. This is what you do in a counterintelligence operation. But they did not do that with President Trump. What did they do? They got FISA warrants on somebody close to him so they could use the two-hop rule to surveil him and his campaign. And then they planted agent provocateurs into his campaign to try to run entrapment schemes on those people, you see. So here's the number one reason why they are screwed, and they know it. Now, certainly Attorney General Barr and Mr. Durham understand exactly how this works. So the only thing that they have to know going in, totally cold open, as soon as they start their investigation, okay, there was a counterintelligence operation. Question number one, did you notify the target, the person you thought was the target of the foreign adversary? That's question number one. And as soon as you get the answer to that, and you find out, no, they didn't go tell the target, the person they thought was being targeted by the foreign adversary, no, they didn't. But what makes it even worse is they launch this so-called counterintelligence operation, which is supposed to find out what a foreign adversary might be doing to spy on you. Instead, what they do, instead of actually doing anything to the foreign adversary, they actually begin to target the exact same person who they said was the target of the foreign adversary. That means it really wasn't a counterintelligence operation. So what was it? Well, it was a coup. And you see, Barr and Durham figured that out on minute one, day one of their investigation. That's the first reason why the deep state is screwed. The second reason why the deep state is screwed, and they know it, is because the entire justification for their counterintelligence operation was based on so-called Russian operative working for Putin went and told Papadopoulos that the Russians had Hillary's emails, or dirt on Hillary in the form of thousands of Clinton emails. And then, of course, he supposedly told this to Alexander Downhatch Downer, who then reported it and made its way to the FBI. And so that is the reason they say they launched the counterintelligence operation. Now, it's at that time that they should have went and warned the target, which would have been Trump. And they would have warned him, hey, your boy Papadopoulos is talking to this Russian dude, and he's dropping info on Papadopoulos, and it could be a problem. You might want to be on the lookout. But that's not what happened, is it? No, I think we know very well, and that's why Barr and Durham and Pompeo were over in Italy talking with the top intelligence and law enforcement officials in Italy to discuss the matter. They've also received Mr. Rowe's taped deposition with Mifsud, and apparently they've also reviewed a taped deposition, or not so much a deposition, but a taped interview with Mifsud that the Italian intelligence officials have. Apparently, when Mifsud's name came out, he was worried about fearing for his life. So he goes to Western intelligence law enforcement and is asking for protection. And not only did he ask for protection, but he told them who he needed protection from and why. And you don't have to be a genius to figure out that if Mifsud was on the up and up, there would have been no reason for him to go underground. You see, Mifsud, and we have overwhelming evidence. We've talked a lot about Mifsud here. There's overwhelming evidence that Mifsud was not working for the Russians, but rather working for Western intelligence. And one of the strongest pieces of evidence for that, because we have not heard these recordings or depositions, Barr has, Durham has, Pompeo now has, certain members of Congress have heard them, and so they know. Others have seen transcripts, so they know. And all the indications are from these people, Trey Gowdy and Lindsey Graham and others. They don't show any sign whatsoever that they think there's any problem with the situation. So therefore, they must believe that, from what they've heard or seen, they must believe that Mifsud was definitely not working for the Russians, and he was most likely working for Western intelligence. But more important than that, we have his lawyer, Mr. Rowe, the Swiss lawyer, Stephen Rowe, who, by the way, has power of attorney. Oh yes, he has power of attorney to handle Mifsud's affairs as his lawyer. And Rowe has stated in public, not even private secret testimony, but in public interviews, he has stated that his client was definitely not working for Russians, and that he was almost certainly working for Western intelligence. So, you have a counterintelligence operation that, number one in the protocol, should have been to identify the target and then advise the target that, in fact, he could be targeted by a foreign adversary. That did not happen. In fact, they did the exact opposite. Second, you have the person who's the source of the so-called evidence, who we were told was a Russian agent. We now know that it's almost certain, 99.9% sure, that he was not Russian or working for Russians. Rather, he was Western. He was working for Western intelligence. So those two things completely blow up, number one, the reason for the counterintelligence operation and the way it was conducted, and number two, the evidence that was used to launch that turns out to have been a fraud. And all that Barr and Durham has to find out is who knew about the fraud and who perpetrated it. They already know it was a fraud. They figured that out a long-ass time ago, or they wouldn't be in Italy. The only reason they would be in Italy dealing with the situation is because they've already gotten that far. Now they just want to know who was the person who put this together. That's really what they're trying to get to the bottom of right now. They've already uncovered the coup plot. They're just crossing the T's and dotting the I's, tying all the evidence together. And this entire thing is going to blow up big time. And that explains why the Democrats are so hell-bent on trying this impeachment effort. It's why you are seeing these people coming completely unglued, and you're going to see it's going to get a lot worse. I mean, essentially, these people know what's coming for them, and they will be coming out of the woodwork saying all kinds of crazy things. The media is going to become completely unhinged because they are complicit. They are complicit. What was the big headline at the Washington Post on the very day that Trump was inaugurated? On Inauguration Day, January 20th, 2017. What was the Washington Post top headline? Democrats move toward impeachment. Day one. Trump's inaugurated. Democrats move toward impeachment. Day one. Washington Post. Boom. My friends, there is so much evidence, it's not even funny. And that's why the deep state is screwed. Thank you very much. It's real simple. There's no reason to make this thing any more complicated than this. And this is what Barr and Durham, they're just, they're investigating a crime. They've investigated many crimes. This one's easier than most. because the perps in this case left an entire trail of breadcrumbs back to the scene of the crime and to the perpetrators themselves. Why? Because they never thought Trump would win. They never thought Trump would win. That's why they had to have the insurance policy. But that was Uncle Bob. And he obviously dropped the ball, wouldn't you say? Not a very impressive performance. Glenn Simpson. Don't think I've ever heard of him. No. Fusion GPS? Fusion GPS. I'm not going to talk about that. That's right. Mueller. Mueller and his team, they're being investigated right now. It's part of the coup plot. And now that we have the Rodenstein emails that Judicial Watch just got, we know that Uncle Bob wasn't just a casual idiot who got drug into this thing. Oh, no. Oh, no. 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 He was an active participant in the coup. Do you think that Barr will go after Bob? Do you think he'll call Bob and tell Bob, this is Bill. We got a problem, Bob. Could you come into my office and maybe we can talk about maybe some sort of a plea deal or something, so I can go light on you and you can give up your boy, Andy Weissman? I think that conversation is probably going to happen sooner than later. Now, let's move on to some of the headlines of the day. John Ratcliffe says that Schiff, the bug-eyed fool, Adam Schiff, should be disqualified from impeachment hearings. He is a fact witness. Yes, he is. After having undisclosed contact with the so-called whistleblower. That's right. When you go through the chain of evidence, Adam the bug-eyed fool Schiff is now within the chain of evidence. He is in fact a fact witness. You can't be the guy prosecuting when you are a fact witness. You can't even be a juror when you're a fact witness. You can't be involved at all when you're a fact witness in the very case that you're involved in. He has to recuse himself. Not only that, because he is a fact witness in this little investigation, that means that Republicans would be able to actually put him down at the table down there and question him. They could do that. The Republicans, Lindsey Graham, or anyone in the Senate, because they probably won't allow them to do it in the House, they'll create some rules that will prevent it from happening so that Jim Jordan or Mark Meadows won't be able to do it. But over in the Senate, they couldn't do anything. Lindsey Graham or Grassley or Johnson, any of those guys over in the Senate could hold hearings on this. And they could bring Adam the bug-eyed fool Schiff in and question him, because he's now a fact witness in the chain of evidence. I can't see how he can possibly continue heading the House Intelligence Committee, and especially heading up this so-called impeachment inquiry. I mean, if the rule of law has any form of life left in it within the swamp, Schiff has to recuse. And even Madam Botox would not be able to defend this. These are clear facts. You cannot be running an investigation or a hearing on a issue for which you are a fact witness and is part of the chain of evidence. You can't have that. We'll continue to follow the details on this. This thing is imploding, and it's imploding fast. Well, we just learned today that the Inspector General of the intelligence community, this guy's a real piece of work, Michael Atkinson, is saying that the whistleblower never informed him of his contact with Schiff's staffer. That's being reported by Catherine Herridge. So if the intelligence community Inspector General was not told that this so-called whistleblower had already gone to the House Intelligence Committee and spoke to staffer or staffers there, if you find this out after the fact, that's a big problem. But we're just now learning about it. This should have come out immediately. As soon as this ICIG found out when the story broke that his whistleblower had gone to the House Intel Committee staffers, he should have immediately came out and made a statement. And this certainly, and if he would have known that beforehand, he's claiming he didn't. But if we find out that he did know, and he's claiming he didn't know, because this guy's dirty. This guy is dirtier than hell. This guy's dirty as he can be. But here's another problem. Just another problem in the long line of problems. That's why this thing is going to tank. And it's going to tank badly. What, this is like the fourth or fifth major misstep that the bug-eyed fool has made? Then we learned today in another story that Madame Botox's son, Paul Pelosi, is on the board of an energy company called Biscoil. And Pelosi, we're talking Paul Pelosi, Madame Botox's son, has traveled to Ukraine on Biscoil business. Even worse, Madame Botox, Nancy Pelosi, appears in one of the company's video ads. Yikes! The Democrats are up to their eyeballs in their activities in Ukraine. That's why they're all coming unhinged. Because Barr and Durham are now up to their armpits in Ukraine and Italy. And what are they finding? Nothing but all these Democrats' activities. Whether it's a rotten Reverend Clinton in 2016, whether it's Biden, whether it's Pelosi, whether it's Schiff himself with his arms dealer. I mean, my God, the corruption is just... Talk about needing to drain the swamp, man. Holy smoke, the Democrats in Ukraine, there's a lot of things going on here. And that's probably what Durham and Barr are finding, and that's why they're over there. They're probably going, holy smoke, I can't believe what we're finding out here. It's even worse than we thought. Well, it looks like the House Democrats have sent a subpoena to the White House for documents related to Trump's call with Ukrainian leader Zelensky. And we're hearing that the Trump White House, the Trump White House will not comply with Madame Botox and her subpoena until she holds a vote in the full House for impeachment. And Mike Pence is also going to be getting that subpoena as well. Yeah, this is the perfect legal tactic. It is not a formal impeachment hearing until you have a full impeachment vote in the House that passes. Once that happens, then you can request and subpoena documents. Until then, it's just a request by the Democrats to the White House. You can remove the entire impeachment inquiry, impeachment process, impeachment hearing. You can move all that completely off the page because it ain't none of those. Until you have an official vote in the House, you do not have an official impeachment hearing or inquiry or whatever you want to call it. Which is exactly why Trump's legal team are absolutely correct in telling Pelosi, hey, have your impeachment vote in the House. If you get the votes, then I guess we have to comply. Until then, pound sand. This thing is blowing up. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe how bad this is going. I knew it was going to be rough, and I thought it would take a couple weeks or maybe even a month or two for this thing to finally just get, pushed off the page because it's so ridiculous. But it's actually imploding faster and in a far more damaging way than I thought for the demo commies. These are incompetent people, man. These are seriously incompetent people, and they're taking a lot of very bad advice from a lot of people who probably have nothing to lose. The people behind them pushing this, they really have nothing to lose. But the demo commies have an election coming up, and they have a hell of a lot to lose. Speaking of losing it, we have quid pro quo Joe losing it big time. So he's at a presser, he's standing at a podium, and he is asked the question by a mainstream media reporter. Not a Fox News, not Alex Jones, not Laura Loomer, no one like that. No. A mainstream corporate media hack asked Biden the following question. He says, quote, How was your role as vice president in charge of policy in Ukraine and your son's job in Ukraine, how is that not a conflict of interest? Oh, and man, did he ever get pissed. Oh, he totally came unglued and went off on a little kind of a tirade, and then he said, I'm not even going to respond to that, although he had just responded to it. And then he started going off on Trump. It's Trump, it's Trump, it's the guy in the White House now, that's the guy, that's the guy. He can't even address the question. Like I said, this plot to go after Trump on Ukraine has done nothing but further expose Biden, their guy. They screwed their guy by trying to go after Trump. They cut off their nose to spite their face. This is why I say they can't be this effing stupid. This has to be a Clinton operation to take out Biden, because I cannot believe that the Democrats will be this stupid, unless it was Hillary's people who pumped the Democrats into doing this, them believing that they had a shot to take out Trump in Ukraine, all the while the rotten Reverend Clinton knowing that all this does is expose Biden and gets rid of him. Clears the path for the satanic buzzard. My. What a tangled web they weave. The demo commies. My goodness, man, these people are so effed up. Well, as I was talking about here just a little earlier at the beginning of the video, the deep state coup plotters, the cockroaches, are coming out of the woodwork now because they feel the heat. They feel the heat. The light of truth is about to be shined upon them. And it's bringing them up from the floor cracks. They're coming out. We've had Mr. Potato Head, John Brennan, on CNN making his insane statements and telling us, well, I do believe that, I understand that Mr. Durham is going to be interviewing me soon. Oh yeah, he's going to be interviewing you quite soon, because he's already interviewed everyone else down below you, and he's got some real questions for you. Yes, he does, because Mr. Potato Head had a lot to do with manufacturing the evidence that was used by the fraudulent so-called FBI, the Federal Bureau of I'm With Her, to go after Trump. And he knows it. That's why he's lashing out. We also had Clapper. Oh yeah, that's that whistleblower. I've looked at 6.5 years as DNI. I looked at lots of whistleblower complaints, and I got to say that I've never seen one quite that detailed. I mean, footnotes, legal references, everything was all right there. Yeah, you dumbass. What do you think that means? That it wasn't your whistleblower that wrote it. It was a bunch of damn lawyers working for Democrats, a law firm that works for Democrats, just like Perkins Coie. They're a Democrat activist law firm. That's who wrote the damn whistleblower complaint. But it gets worse. We have Silly Sally Yates. Silly Sally Yates. She's finally out there now, and she's saying, Silly Sally Yates, who of course, let's keep in mind, she lied to Congress about Flynn being compromised. She knew damn good and well Flynn was not compromised. She knew that Flynn alerted, he went and formally filled out an actual report with the Intelligence Committee and the FBI, telling them that he was going to be attending this RT dinner. Totally everything above board. Never lied about anything. Never represented anything. Silly Sally lied when she said that Flynn was being compromised. She knew he was not. She also signed off on one of those Carter Page FISAs. Silly Sally is going to be indicted. I promise you that. She's up to her eyeballs in the plot. Now she's saying, she's out there on, I think it was MSNBC, saying that Trump is gaslighting the American public. I mean, these people, you talk about smoke and mirrors, man. Smoke and mirrors. So here you have Clapper, Mr. Potato Head, and Silly Sally all out there spouting off this garbage. Why? Because I assume that they've been told that the only way, the only hope that they have is to try to spin the narrative so that when the Horowitz report comes out and then Barr and Durham put out their report, they are going to try to already have, in preparation of that, ahead of that, a narrative that suggests that everything that they're being accused of, that Trump's actually guilty of. The exact flip opposite of what the truth is. You see how this works? It gets crazy. That's the smoke and mirrors. It gets insane. But fortunately, there is something called the elixir. The elixir. And this is why I think that Trump and Barr and Durham are not even really, well, Trump does every day, but Barr and Durham are not even really responding to any of this. They don't really give a damn. Because Barr and Durham understand one thing very simply. At the end of the day, you can run all the propaganda and smoke and mirrors campaigns you want, but once they come out and with the report and they announce these indictments, and that's going to totally sober up the media, because then they're going to realize, uh-oh, this game has run to an end, because we don't have anything. All we got is propaganda. He's got indictments, and behind those indictments, he's got a lot of evidence, and it's going to work itself out through the legal system, through the court system, through the judicial system. Those people are going to be charged. They're going to be in front of a jury who is going to decide their guilt or innocence. That's where the rubber will meet the road, and that's where all of this comes to a screeching ass halt. Once we separate the wheat from the chaff, and you do that in the courtroom. Once the indictments are filed, you can run all the stories you want on CNN, MSNBC, and even Fox to try to create the smoke and mirror campaign. You can try to confuse as many people as you want, but it will all become crystal clear, and the smoke will be dissipated from the entire arena once the indictments come out, because then it will be crystal clear. What does the MSM have? What does the corporate media, the Democrats, and all their adversaries, what do they all have? Nothing but a bunch of propaganda and BS. What does Mr. Barr and Mr. Durham have? Indictments. The facts and the evidence will carry the day, and it's all on the side of Barr and Durham, and none of it on the side of the Demo-commies. They have a fake impeachment hearing. That's the best they can do. And dragging out Silly Sally, Mr. Potato Head, and that idiot Clapper. That's the best they can do. Now, it gets worse. Oh, I know what you're thinking, Mike. Man, that's bad. It couldn't get any worse. Oh, yeah, it actually could. And here's how it gets worse. Paul Sperry. Paul Sperry. I know Mara's a big fan of Paul Sperry. She checks his Twitter feed every day, and so do I. Paul Sperry, the CIA operative posing as a whistleblower, helped dig up dirt on Trump and Manafort in Ukraine in 2016 while working in the Obama White House during the 2016 campaign. Oh my goodness. Now you know who would know this? Durham and Barr, because they're investigating in the Ukraine. So they would know this, and maybe this is where this is leaking out from. Let me say that one more time. This is huge. This CIA operative, posing as a whistleblower, helped dig up dirt on Trump and Manafort in Ukraine in 2016 while working in the Obama White House during the 2016 campaign. This dude is a straight-up operative. Part of the coup plotters who weaseled his way back into the White House. And when they found out about him, they canned his ass and got him out of there. And that's why he got pissed. And that's why he filed this complaint. But when you dig into this whistleblower, which you can bet that the Republicans on these committees are going to do, and now, thankfully, someone, either at the State Department or Department of Justice, one of Barr's people, somebody leaked this to Paul Sperry. Okay? Somebody leaked this to Paul Sperry. And now, everybody's going to start digging into this dude. And pretty soon, we're going to get to know his identity. His identity is going to be coming out shortly, because this here really narrows things down. You can bet that the guys over at Conservative Treehouse and various other reporters, John Solomon, people like that, they are now getting this information, and they are going to work. They are looking at everyone who was in the CIA working in the Obama White House in 2016, and which one of them was over in Ukraine during 2016. That's what they're going to be looking at. And they're going to come down to a list of qualified candidates. Excuse me. And they're going to narrow that down, and they're going to nail this guy down. And as soon as we find out that he was working for the Obama White House in 2016 over in Ukraine trying to dig up dirt on Trump and Manafort, boom, this thing blows up. The entire thing blows up. And this is getting into criminal territory here, right here. You cannot knowingly manufacture an impeachment. You cannot knowingly try to do a impeachment. Let me reword that. You cannot do an impeachment if you knew that the person you were basing it on, the whistleblower, was in fact some sort of an operative or was not above board. So then we have to assume that in this investigation they'll be digging in and finding out which members of Congress, Ukraine, whether it was Madam Botox, at the Bug-Eyed Fool, if any of these people connected to the whistleblower, any of these people, the Inspector General, did any of these people know that this guy, this so-called whistleblower, man or woman, was working actively in 2016 to dig up dirt on Trump and Manafort in Ukraine in 2016. If we find out that any of these people knew the background of this guy, including that Inspector General, oh my goodness. Now you're talking about getting into criminal territory. Did any of you guys see the Ocasio-Cortez, the wild-eyed commie, town hall? The one where the one crazy chick starts screaming about global warming and the fact that the only solution, there's not time just for the new Green Deal. No, they must immediately begin eating babies. Eating babies. The funny thing is about it, if that's not crazy enough, is looking all the people in the room, they're looking at her like, yeah, damn, she's making a good point. We really don't have that much time. We do have to start eating babies. And what's the topper of it all is when Ocasio-Cortez allows her to completely continue with this rant she's going on, and then she seriously addresses the question. She seriously addresses the question. Even she was fooled. And, you know, any rational person would say, I'm sorry, but you're kind of nuts. You're kind of crazy, right? Okay? Eating babies? Are you serious? No. Ocasio-Cortez didn't have any problem with that. She tried to go on and explain, well, you know, there are actions we can take. We can do some things. You know, it is late in the game, but there are things we can do. I mean, she tried to smooth it all over, but she was literally believing that this was a real activist. Now, obviously, this person was not a real activist. This was some sort of a plant. It was some sort of a, you know, a joke or something on Ocasio-Cortez. But what's funny is that Ocasio-Cortez does not even realize what is happening here. She takes it seriously, and that is hilarious, which will make Ocasio-Cortez probably a pretty good pick for Dumbass of the Week. It's been a while since she's won. Well, we have the new Ukrainian prosecutor who's there now saying that he will conduct an audit of cases. I think he mentioned 15 to 18 cases that have been closed under the previous prosecutor, that they're now going to open, or they're going to audit those cases, and one of them is Burisma. You know, Obama's going to be really pissed at quid pro quo Joe. Very, very pissed. His campaign, or he, put out a statement saying that that he was only carrying out the official policy of the Obama administration when he forced the firing of the prosecutor in Ukraine, Mr. Shokin, who was, of course, investigating Burisma and Hunter Biden. So now we have Biden's campaign coming out making the statement, oh, hey, Joe was just following Obama's orders. Wait till Obama hears that. He is going to be pissed. And this finally ends. Biden is no longer the front runner. It's Elizabeth Pocahontas, Liawatha, Chief Spreading Bull, Warren, who just got caught in another lie. We'll talk about that as soon as we have more time. We don't today. But she has now moved ahead of Biden. For the most part, she is the front runner now. Bernie, of course, he's done. He doesn't know he's done, but he's done. So we'll see how long that Warren can stay on top as the front runner before she makes another huge mistake, which you can bet won't take long because she's a complete idiot. I would say that's very likely. Sometime in the next couple of days, we'll probably see her roll up in a campaign event, roll up in maybe like a white Cherokee. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with more TowerGate. See ya. Bye.